What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Book It Better YouTube series. If you followed us last week, we came at you with the first episode of Monday Night Raw. Saw a couple of storylines getting pushed forward. Owen and Hart going after the world title. Ramon chasing that Intercontinental title. Dink getting swole backstage. Jeff Hardy wants driving instruction. We're bringing in the second episode of Monday Night Raw tonight. We've got week 2 of July. You're looking at the screen right now. This is our pre-show here. We've got a pre-show battle royal. I am joined via satellite by the superstar. He's going to help get us through this episode of Raw. If you listened to the creative meeting, you'll recognize his voice. That was him and I doing the creative meeting. The creative meeting for this episode of Monday Night Raw will be uploaded shortly. So after you watch this, or before you watch this, if you want to get the backstage creative meeting, where we going with it, you can listen to that. If not, sit back, enjoy the ride, and we're going to get working, we're going to get cracking on this episode of Monday Night Raw. So, Superstar, welcome to your debut at the Book It Better YouTube series.
Hey, yo.
Is everybody here to see...
I basically couldn't think of anything better to say. So.
Are you here to see Book It Better, or are you here to see the NWO? That's probably the worst Scott Hall impression that I've ever done.
I thought it was pretty spot on. You know, you had the drunk slur going pretty well. So.
Usually I got a pretty good Scott Hall. I feel like I got a little camera shy there. So, all right, so we've got what we're looking at right now is we got our pre-show here. It's in a pre-show bout that had decent wrestling but didn't have much heat. Bam Bam Bigelow won a battle royal in 15, almost 16 minutes. The other members of the Final Four were Yokozuna, Tatanka, and Jerry Lawler, with Yokozuna being the final elimination. I'm actually very unhappy with this. It scores a good rating, actually, but I'm unhappy because I believe I selected Dink to be the final 2. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, Dink's been getting swole backstage. He's been getting his lift on. There might be a little bit of suspicion that maybe he's gotten into some illegal performance-enhancing drugs, if you will. But Dink's in here with the main eventers. He's in here on our pre-show. He's getting some screen time.
I would have loved to see him eliminate Yokozuna.
I mean, he's in there with Yokozuna and Bam Bam Bigelow. Like,
he's got the leverage, if you think about it.
He is. He's got the low center of gravity. I think it's a good look for him. I think, and who knows? I mean, it might be happening. This might be the Dink super push coming up here. We don't know. But Dink looks really good in this pre-show battle royal. Also, on a second note, this right here, if you look at this face, you see Lex Luger. This is why I hate Lex Luger. So, just look at the picture. That's why I hate Lex Luger. But we'll see what happens with Lex going forward. All right, so we're going to open up our show here. This is Bret Hart. He's coming out to the ring. He's talking about tonight's main event. Tonight's main event is going to... well, it's not even the main event. But tonight's event it's going to be Bret Hart and Jacques Rougeau. They'll be taking on Jim Neidhart and Pierre in a tag team match. So Bret's out. Jacques is out there as well. They're basically out there saying that tonight they're going to get revenge for last week's beatdown. Owen, the Anvil, that group, they come out and they basically say that tonight there's no chance that Jacques Rougeau and Bret Hart stand a shot of taking home any kind of victory tonight. It gets a great rating here, 88. So the 88 rating, that's going to raise the breakup of the Quebeccers storyline. That's advancing and gaining heat. The Bret versus Owen storyline, that's advancing and gaining heat. Both Owen and Bret did a great job improvising. So that's good to know. They both improvised out there. We didn't script either one of them. I think it's pretty much your basic storyline.
Hats off to whoever booked this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who the bookers are here, but whoever booked this, I mean, this is a spot of genius to give Bret and Owen the mic here. I think these two new up and comers.
Yeah, and it's making the Quebeccers relevant. I don't know about you, but I would have never cared about the Quebeccers.
Yeah, it's pretty much genius booking, I think. All right, so we're gonna move on to our next segment here, and it's Chris Jericho versus Jim Powers. This is a debuting Chris Jericho. This match had terrible wrestling and non-existent heat. Chris Jericho defeats Jim Powers by submission. So Chris Jericho debuted his gimmick. He got an average rating. This match actually sucked because of Jim Powers. So Jim Powers has an in-ring performance rating of 26. Chris Jericho's is 41. So that's actually really good for Chris Jericho, considering nobody even knows who he is right now. So he basically scored that 41 based on his in-ring wrestling ability alone. There's no popularity boost at all here for him. So a 40, it's not the greatest rating, but it's really not that bad. I mean, at this point, this is a low mid-card match. So, boy, he's handsome in that picture, though, isn't he?
Yeah. And I could say, you think a 40 is okay because, you were happy with your 40s in high school on your exams. So
those were my good exams.
Yeah, I'm going there.
Yeah, those were my good exams. That's because they didn't have any exams on booking.
There you go.
We're moving on to our next segment here. This is Chris Jericho basically calling out all the old dinosaurs. He says he just beat Jim Powers. He is here in the World Wrestling Federation. He is young. He is good-looking. He is charismatic. He is the future of the World Wrestling Federation, and he is calling out all the old dinosaurs. And he's going to send just a little subtle look at Randy Savage on commentary. Randy's not too happy about it, but it's just a little subtle look that says maybe there's something there. This one gets a great rating, 63. So Jericho was superb, working without a script. He had the crowd in the palm of his hand. So it's kind of building into that Jericho, that there might be something here between Jericho and Randy Savage. Another masterfully booked segment.
Yeah, I can't wait for this, to see how this unfolds.
Gets a 63. 63 is actually way better than I thought this rating was going to be. That speaks a lot about how good Jericho actually is. Moving on. Alright, so this is IRS and the, quote, Undertaker. And they're going on against the Rock and Roll Express. So it says decent wrestling, not much heat. IRS and the Undertaker defeat the Rock and Roll Express in 7 minutes, when the Undertaker defeats Ricky Morton with a tombstone. The Undertaker was the weak link here, struggling to keep up with everyone else's in-ring performance. So, as in real life, the moment fake Undertaker gets in the ring, I'm sorry, he's not the fake Undertaker, he's the alleged real Undertaker, it's painfully obvious to everybody that this guy can't wrestle.
Yeah, and who's Robert Gibson looking at?
Apparently, why are his eyes, he's looking at one guy over here, and one guy straight ahead, actually. But yeah, if you look at the in-ring performances, Gibson and Morton actually do pretty well, 60-64. Undertaker's down to 46, so not a terrible match, but kind of a poor match. But this is actually why I didn't want to put the real Undertaker anywhere near this one, because it would have dragged that storyline down. We move to our next segment here. Excuse me. So after the match now, this is post-match, the lights go out, the gong hits, a lightning bolt hits the corner of the ring, it knocks down IRS and the Undertaker. Paul Bearer's face appears on the screen, and he basically says once again that the real Undertaker is back and he is coming. Oh, yes! That's another spot-on impression.
75. I would expect that to be a little higher.
75? I think what happens is, honestly, I think fake Undertaker pulls that down, because nobody gives a shit about fake Undertaker. Like, it's so obvious that he's not the real Undertaker that nobody really cares about him. This is just... This one here is just another freestyle segment. Jeff Hardy, he asks Sparkplug once again, "Hey, Sparkplug, Uncle Sparky, can you teach me how to drive a car? You're the man. You're the NASCAR driver. Please, I'm just a boy. I need someone to teach me how to drive." Sparkplug then throws Jeff Hardy through the windshield of the car.
Why is Sparkplug such a douchebag?
He's not so much a douchebag. He doesn't like the youngins. You have to understand, Sparkplug's a professional. He's a professional race car driver, and he doesn't have time for children like Jeff Hardy to waste his time asking to learn how to parallel park. Sparkplug doesn't know how to parallel park. Sparkplug drives 200 miles an hour in circles. He doesn't know how to parallel park. He doesn't have time for this. He doesn't have time for this.
He is just a rock star.
Yes, he is. Look at his feathered hair, his feathered mullet. He doesn't have time for Jeff Hardy jokesters.
It looks like somebody just started speaking to him in Spanish, and he doesn't know what to do. But
yeah, he does. He has like that. He has like that smile on his face, like he doesn't really know what's happening.
Right.
But yes, that's it. So Jeff's persistent though. He's gonna come back. He's gonna make it through this experience.
How is Jeff supposed to make it to the next episode of Raw if he doesn't know how to drive?
Right.
He can't pay for his own airfare.
No, he's 16 years old.
He's 16. He is 16. God damn it. Sparkplug, douchebag. I hope he comes around.
We'll see. One can only hope. All right, in our next segment here, we have Bret Hart and Jacques Rougeau versus Jim Neidhart and Pierre. This actually scores better than I thought it was going to score. It's a decent match. Neidhart and Pierre pick up the victory over Bret and Jacques. Jim Neidhart defeats Jacques Rougeau by pinfall with an anvil flattener following interference from Owen Hart. So once again, Owen Hart interferes with this match. He costs Bret Hart a match. Neidhart picks up the win over Jacques Rougeau. Bret Hart and Jacques Rougeau do not work well as a team. Their timing is all over the place, so that's no good. Jim Ross and Randy.
That's kind of expected because they were just thrown. That was kind of expected because they're just thrown together.
Yeah,
whoever they're not like a true tag team. So
no, whoever booked this garbage is terrible.
Damn it.
All right, in our next segment here, we got our main event. It's the 1-2-3 Kid and Razor Ramon versus Diesel and Shawn Michaels. This one actually scores way lower than I thought it was going to score. And
because the 1-2-3 Kid stinks.
Yeah, he does. He actually, Razor pulls in an 81 performance, Diesel and 75, Shawn Michaels an 88. 1-2-3 Kid pulls a 53. So the 1-2-3 Kid is the weak link. Basically, what happens here? So Shawn Michaels is kind of doing all the work here, right? So Diesel and Shawn Michaels defeat the 1-2-3 Kid and Razor when Diesel defeats 1-2-3 Kid after the jackknife powerbomb. So here's what's going to happen here in this match. We see Diesel and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels does most of the work here. He cedes to Diesel to pick up the pinfall. Basically, he hits Razor with the sweet chin music. Diesel gets the pinfall over the 1-2-3 Kid. And that's all she wrote. Diesel picks up the victory. And so our Diesel versus Razor segment, it advances but loses a little bit of heat here. So we're going to end our show here. We're going to move on. The show scores just a 65. It increases our popularity in 7 regions and loses us popularity in 11 regions. It scores so poorly, actually, I should have known this. Our show appeared worse because our music is slightly worse than our one rivals. That would be WCW. And the general feeling is that the WWF don't have enough interesting storylines going on. So on our next episode of Monday Night Raw, first, we need to up our music quality. And secondly, more importantly, we need to, all of our storylines need to have solid efforts leading into our In Your House pay-per-view. We do have 2 more episodes before In Your House, but we definitely need to get our storylines back up. So, thanks for joining. Superstar, you have any closing comments, or are we signing off here?
I just can't wait for next week to see what happens, because I love these storylines.
Yeah, you'll have to tune in, folks. But no, so that's that. You can check us out next week. Again, if you want to see the backstage creative aspect of this, head on over to Podomatic. It's the Book It Better podcast. We'll be uploading all of our creative meetings there as well. We also have, again, we have our roundtable discussions. This week's roundtable discussion was the Mount Rushmore. That's our top 4 Mount Rushmore of pro wrestlers who never won a world title in their career. You definitely want to check that out. There's some controversial ones on there, but we did come up with our top 4. So head on over to Podomatic, Podomatic.com. It's the Book It Better podcast. You can listen to our roundtables, and you can listen to our creative meetings if you want to see how we come up with this garbage. Until then, this is Max Whitman and the Superstar, and we are signing off.